Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. And we have a great show for you today. And if you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. And I guess we'll be here till about, 9 o'clock tonight? I would say about 9. And today, we are going to talk about Beeb. Is the World Boxing Super Series going to cancel mid-tournament? Will we have a rest of the tournament?
I don't know.
I don't either. We'll give you the details. And was it a 10 count? Did Wilder actually knock out Tyson Fury in that 12th round? And did Fury get a long count? We'll break it down for you. But first, we get started with, actually, before we even get started with the fights, I'm actually going to turn it over to Mr. Ringside Robert with a message.
Okay, guys, I understand that people have been a little upset by what I said last week in regards to the Mexican judge who judged the Wilder-Fury fight. And I jokingly said last week that, he needed to be deported. I was joking. I was trying to make light of the situation. Good news for those that are concerned. He's still judging. Matter of fact, he judged one of the fights last night. But by no means, whenever me or Eric or Beeb say stuff on here, sometimes I know sometimes it's hard to tell whether we're joking or whether we're serious or whether we're upset about something. But no, I said that in jest. I was joking, so I did not mean to offend anybody. And I'm sure there's going to be times in the future on this and future shows that we're going to say stuff. People, look, we love you listening. We love your participation. But please do us a favor and don't take everything so seriously. I mean, you got to learn to read between the lines. I know with the current administration, people are losing their minds and they're jumping to the immediate conclusions whenever things are said. But come on, this is a boxing show. We're supposed to have fun here. So please don't get bent out of shape. I don't want to offend anybody. I was joking about the situation. So let's cover what we got to cover this week. Back to you, Eric.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. All right. We'll start with ESPN. Vasiliy Lomachenko versus Jose Pedraza for the unified WBA WBO lightweight championship. Lomachenko beats Pedraza via unanimous decision by the scores of 119-107 and 117-109 twice. I think coming up his weight has really helped out Pedraza. He looked good in his last fight. He looked good at spots in this fight. But all in all, man, I could still only give him a round. I had to score 119, 107. Lomachenko is just so hard to fight. He's like fighting like a guy like Pernell Whitaker or something like that, where he stands in front of you, you just can't hit him. And that's just the way it is, man. I tell you, it's, he can hit you, he can hurt you, he can make you miss, he's just a difficult type of fighter. In the 11th round, Lomachenko must have hit him with about 20 unanswered shots, man. Pedraza went down twice and was almost taken out. I mean, they really could have stopped that fight in the 11th round.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually surprised that they didn't. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. He's a champion. It's two titles on the line. But I don't know. I think it's insane that I'm actually reading, and I just read one in the chat by, I guess you guys can guess who it is. I think it's insane that I'm actually reading that this was not a good performance by Lomachenko. I mean, people saying Lomachenko looked ordinary, got exposed, or couldn't get rid of Pedraza. What are you, stupid? I mean, did you not watch the fight? At one point in the fight, and I think it was like midway through the fight, I think Pedraza had landed like 7% of his shots.
Yeah.
I didn't even see what the final CompuBox was. But at one point in the fight, he landed 7%. Lomachenko, up until about the 9th or 10th round, outlanded him in every round. I mean, it was like, why? Because he got touched up? I mean, he got hit. Yeah, you're in front of a guy with gloves. He's going to hit you. I don't get it. Beeb, help me out on this. I mean, was this a bad performance by Lomachenko? I don't know.
This was by far anything but a bad performance. This was still a solid performance. I mean, take a look at that 11th round. That tells the story right there. Lomachenko did seem a little reserved in this fight, and obviously he's coming back from the surgery, so there's going to be some apprehension. Instinctively, there's going to be some apprehension whether or not he's trying to fight through it or not. He's going to hesitate to throw that right hook a little bit. Andre Ward even mentioned, too, the same thing when he got shoulder on his right shoulder. He was not throwing the right hand a lot when he first came back. It's just that little bit of psychological burden you have when you're coming back from an injury. You want to baby the part of your body. Obviously, as time goes on, he's going to shake that apprehension off. But at the end of the day, he's still landed some good shots. I gave Pedraza 3 rounds, but Pedraza's a solid fighter. He's a big guy. And yeah, Tank did blow Pedraza out, but that was at 130. Pedraza's a big guy. He's definitely has the frame to be a 135-pounder, possibly a 140-pounder. He's a very solid fighter. He's a former world champion, and he was a world champion going into the fight with Lomachenko. It was a unification match. So to sit there and dismiss Pedraza, a full-fledged big, not welterweight, big lightweight, to sit there and disparage, the performance of Lomachenko without really understanding what he had in front of him, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, in my opinion. I think Lomachenko did not throw as many punches as he normally does, but he still fought a smart fight, still boxed very well, did land power shots, did hurt Pedraza, obviously in that 11th round and on other occasions, did really well to the body. And as the fight wore on, he did start throwing the right hook. So the bar is set so high for Lomachenko. People are looking to find things wrong with him without question. Do I think he's a perfect fighter? No, but he is definitely a world-class fighter. He's definitely a top fighter in today's boxing. I would have loved to have seen Mikey Garcia fight him. I would have picked Mikey Garcia, but that's not to disparage Lomachenko as being a great fighter. And if on your off night, if that's considered an off night, if on your off night you can win the fight 119 to 107, then I hate to see what your on night looks like. So that's just a testament to how great of a fighter he is, because he can win a fight 119 to 107, virtually knock the guy out almost in the 11th round, and still get criticized. So some people are never happy. Some people just don't like certain fighters. I have my favorites too, but I can look at boxing objectively, and I can, give people credit when they are good fighters, and and I can give them credit when they have exceptional skills. And Lomachenko definitely is a great fighter, and he does have exceptional skills. Not the hardest puncher in the world, but he's a sharp puncher. He's an accurate puncher. He sets those punches up, and the way he steps off to the side and creates those angles, he's shooting those punches from a lot of blind spots from fighters, and they're not going to see those punches coming. And because he's so quick, sharp, the way he turns those punches over, and because that element of surprise of not being able to brace yourself for those shots, he's going to have a lot of people in trouble. He's going to hurt a lot of guys, and he's going to possibly score some stoppages. And he almost did score a stoppage last night. So with that being said, I have no problem with the performance last night. I think people are just grasping at straws.
I think so too. I tell you, it was, and I thought like, wow, what about Mikey Garcia in there against him tonight? I mean, that would have been, but again, maybe he's hesitant about throwing that, after shoulder surgery.
Yeah. Well, I always thought Mikey Garcia would beat him. That's just my opinion, but
yeah,
it is what it is,
I tell you what, Mikey Garcia looks foolish now. I mean, going up there and
he should have took that fight.
Marked by Errol Spence.
Should have took that fight. You should have tried to make that fight, I should say, not take it.
Drop down, and then what's he going to do? Drop back down to lightweight?
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough drop, too. So, yeah, not good moves.
Lomanchenko even said last night, the only fight I'm interested in having is Mikey Garcia.
Yeah, that's the only fight that makes sense right now for him. And, unfortunately, a lot of these top-ranked fighters, they're running out of opponents. So they got to do something fast. That's why Terrence Crawford and Bob Arum are reaching out to Amir Khan, because obviously, you would favor Terrence Crawford in that fight, not to get off topic here, but he's a name. And Lomachenko needs a name. There's no other names out there
right
at 135 for him. And there's really no names for Terrence Crawford either if they don't cross the street.
Yeah. I mean,
or if the PBC people don't cross the street, I should say.
Yeah. That's the thing, because, he's just, I mean, like I said, both of them we got two fighters here that don't have anyone. They don't have dance partners. And I think the Amir Khan, and we'll talk about it later, but I think the call out of Amir Khan in that fight is a brilliant move for Crawford, because Amir Khan is a huge name. He's a big name. So, Robert, you saw Vasiliy Lomachenko this weekend. What were your thoughts on him?
Well, I almost had it a complete whitewash. I 119, 107. And to make Jose Pedraza look like that, and we know Jose Pedraza is a world class fighter, because I mean, you don't earn a title without being a world class fighter, and he made Pedraza look absolutely like he didn't belong in there last night. And I can't believe how many people are saying, "Oh, it's bad night. He didn't look good. He still has problems from having the operation." Like Beeb said, if that's a bad night, I'd hate to see what he looks like on his best night. And I don't know, man. I think it was an open and shut case. And I feel bad for Pedraza, because how many Puerto Rican fighters in New York City coming out to the ring in Madison Square Garden get booed? He got booed when he came out.
How crazy was that, right?
Yeah. And normally in New York City, in Madison Square Garden, the Puerto Rican fighters are loved. But, he was fighting an uphill battle from when he walked out of the dressing room last night. So,
do you remember?
You know what?
Do you remember when? Let me ask you. Do you remember the Tito Trinidad William Joppy fight in New York, when he came out and they completely were booing the national anthem? I mean, and there was nobody cheering for Joppy in that fight. I mean, and New York is a very Puerto Rican town when it comes to fighting, man. When you're Puerto Rican and you're fighting in New York, you got the crowd behind you. This was nuts. I mean, it looked like, it was definitely a pro Lomachenko crowd.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? Mikey Garcia is an absolute idiot. Now, of course, if we get as many zeros in front of that check as he's going to get for fighting Spence,
right?
I guess we take that money too. But what's going to happen is Earl Spence is going to soften him up for Lomanchenko to eventually take him apart, and that fight is not going to be as good as it would have been had Mikey Garcia decided to take the Lomachenko fight next instead of the Spence fight. And that's going to be the disappointing thing about this whole thing is, we're eventually probably going to get that fight, but the potential of it being as good as it would have been is going to look bad, because it's going to be like Triple G, fighting Kell Brook, and then Brook fighting Spence afterwards, and it made it easier for Spence to, kind of soften him up. It's going to be history repeating itself if the Lomachenko-Garcia fight ever comes off.
Well,
that's the only bad part about this whole thing.
Yeah, what's funny is that I was just going to ask you about that, and you completely brought it up. I was just going to ask you, is he going to be like this year's Kell Brook, where he goes up and fights a guy that he's not expected to beat, then comes back down, tries to defend, and gets beaten again by a superior guy? Garcia, I'm speaking of.
See, that's why I hate the Garcia-Spence fight so much, because Mikey and Lomachenko has the potential of being a fight of the year candidate kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But with him going up 12 pounds and taking a severe beating, which I think is going to happen, I know you two disagree with me. I think he's going to take a severe beating, and I think he's going to blow him out of there. And then for him to lose those 12 pounds and go back and fight Lomachenko, we're not going to see the real Mikey Garcia. I wish the situation was reversed. I wish Lomachenko was fighting Garcia first, and then Garcia could go up and fight Spence if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But with the calendar being set the way it is, history is going to repeat itself, and we're going to see Mikey Garcia looking like Kell Brook after the next two fights. And I know people disagree with me, and you're entitled to do that, but that's just my honest opinion. I think Mikey Garcia is an idiot. I think he's going to get killed. Not literally. I think he's going to get slaughtered in the ring, because he's not going to be able to do it. And then,
Not literally.
Not literally. Now he's afraid. People are gonna start tweeting. No, Robbie said he wants Mikey Garcia to get killed.
And people are going to be tweeting that out. Robbie wants to see him killed. Another Mexican wants to get,
no, that's why I said not literally, because I don't want people to jump to the wrong conclusion. Yeah,
hey, let me ask you guys. Let me cut in real quick here. Let me ask you guys here. Jason had made mention of this last night, and of course he's been in the chat talking about it. What about the fact that Tank Davis knocked out Jose Pedraza in 7 or 8 rounds, and Lomachenko had to go the distance with him? And I chalk it up to, hey, listen, I think that Pedraza's better at 135 than he is at 130. No question about it.
Yeah.
I think he's a better boxer at 135. But again, 2 different styles. So if somebody goes the distance, so some of Floyd Mayweather's opponents have been knocked out, but Floyd took him the distance. Does that make Floyd a worse fighter than the guy who knocked him out?
Yeah.
Who blew out Hatton worse? Floyd or Pacquiao?
What's that?
I said, who blew up Hatton worse? Floyd or Pacquiao?
Exactly. So does that make, Manny Pacquiao a superior fighter because, he went the distance?
No disrespect to Tank Davis. I'm not saying it would be a bad fight, but would anyone pick Tank Davis to beat Lomachenko at 135?
No way.
Is there anyone out there in the chat or anyone that's watching this show, anyone that watches it in the archive, is anyone out there that would pick Tank Davis over Lomachenko? And Jason, if I put a gun to your head and I told you had a bet life savings on one fighter, would you put your life savings on Tank Davis or would you put your life savings on Lomachenko?
Yeah.
I put a gun to your head.
Exactly.
That's all I got to say.
Yep. That's it. Tank stops Loma. He said he takes Tank.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Tank stops Loma. Okay.
All right.
Put your money where your mouth is.
You know what? We'll never know because he doesn't bet. He doesn't bet. So we'll never know.
No.
He's a troll.
He don't have the guts to bet.
He's a troll. All right. Let's go to the next fight. Isaac Dogboe versus Emmanuel Navarette for the WBO Junior Featherweight Championship. Emmanuel Navarette upsets Isaac Dogboe by the scores of 115, 113, 116, 112 twice. I'll tell you what, in the very first round, it looked like Dogboe was going to have his way in this fight.
It did.
But he got over anxious, and this was about the middle, toward the late at the end of the first round. He got stunned. You could see it. He got stunned. He got hurt, and he felt that, he felt that punch. He felt that power from Navarette. After that, Navarette did a good job with pressure and was able to outwork Dogboe to win a unanimous decision. I don't understand for the life of me why Navarette wasn't using his jab, but what he was doing worked. But he did take rounds off. I don't know if that was due to fatigue or what, but he ended up taking rounds off. And I didn't know this about Dogboe. I don't watch the pre-shows and everything, but they were talking about it during the telecast that he trains with his father and his brothers, like sparring, and he doesn't bring anybody in. And his brothers aren't pros, I don't believe. So I'm like, well, how can you actually legit go in there and fight these guys like legit pros and expect to get better if you're you're not really training to get
really. Another question I have for you: Are you going to really hit your father?
Yeah, there's
In anger, are you going to throw a punch, a debilitating punch at your father, or a sharp punch at your father, or are you going to be pulling back?
Yeah, when I heard that last night, I was like, well, no wonder why you're going to lose this damn fight,
I mean, Dogboe had his moments in this fight. He was getting low. He was bobbing, moving his head side to side. His jab was working, in spot.
Oh, did we lose Beeb?
Big, tall, strong kid. Tons of pressure. Fought this fight at a very fast pace. And I don't think Dogboe was comfortable dealing with the pace of this fight. I think he got worn down because of the constant pressure. Navarette is like Antonio Margarito in there. And the thing what Navarette was doing is he was throwing looping shots, but basically, throwing the looping shots to kind of open up Dogboe. He'd throw a looping shot and then come straight down with the right hand. So he was very unpredictable with his punch selection because he'd throw looping shots, and then after throwing the looping shots, he'd come straight down the middle. So Dogboe was like constantly having to, get adjusted to these different punches coming at him and these different looks that Navarette was giving him. And all the while, Navarette was just blanketing him with punches. He was just blanketing him with punches. And that was the big difference here. I think you had a big, strong, young kid in front of you that was not going to stop, that was not going to quit. And I think he got the sense that no matter what I throw at this kid, I can't stop him from coming forward and applying this pressure. And I cannot slow this fight down. I'm hitting this guy to the body, trying to take his legs away, and he keeps coming. And I think he got discouraged because of that. After the fight, he said he underestimated Navarette, but I just think that he just miscalculated on how good this kid really was. Sometimes you watch a guy on film, you watch tape, and like so many fighters say, it's a different story when you're in there with the guy. And this guy had the Energizer Bunny last night. I mean, he had no quitting him. There were rounds like in the 7th and 8th round. I said to myself, okay, Dogboe's getting a second win. He's going to take the momentum back to this fight. This fight is a nip and tuck battle here. And then after that, what happens? Navarette wins rounds 9 through 12. So, at the end of the day, I had it 116-112 for Navarette, and I just think he overwhelmed Dogboe.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And I didn't hear much going on in the corner of Dogboe.
No.
Did you hear any instruction coming out of there, or did they?
Very, very little.
Yeah. So, Beeb, let me ask you, because you're good at breaking down the fights here.
Sure.
Emmanuel Navarette was kind of overwhelming him. What could Dogboe have done differently?
Dogboe had to slow the pace of the fight down, so he had to get close. So obviously, Navarette kept trying to create space, and he would fight on the inside when Dogboe looked tired. So in other words, when he hit Dogboe with a good shot from the outside, and he kind of rattled him a little bit, that's when he went inside and started trying to rip his body and get in the phone booth with him. So if I'm the trainer, I'm saying you got to stay close and grab this guy, hold him, lean on him, rough him up a little bit on the inside, constantly touch him to the body. And if you want to take a break, grab him and walk him back and lean on him and try to slow this guy down by putting your weight on him and fatiguing him that way. So you got to try to make this do a physical fight, because you can't box with this kid. You can't beat this guy with just straight boxing skills. So you got to dig down into the bag of tricks. I would have told him to make it a dog fight. I would have told him to grab him and rough him up a little bit, maneuver him, walk him back to the ropes, rip body shots, and then step off to the side. But don't go too far out. Don't go too far out with this guy. Step off to the side. Don't go straight back and give him too much distance. Just keep turning him. Just keep turning him. Tight circles from side to side. And then when you just keep him at your distance. Don't allow this guy to get extension on those wide looping shots. Because if you get up close to a guy, he's going to have a hard time. He's going to have to come up underneath. If he's going to come up underneath, then you can slip and come up over the top. He's going to come up over the top. You slip and you come over the top. So you saw Dogboe had more success when he was close. So that was the key to this fight. And if you couldn't maintain that distance, then you gotta grab him. You gotta slow it down. You gotta back him into a corner. Don't give this guy room where he can create space. Make his back touch the ropes.
And that was the thing for me, is that in Dogboe never made those type of adjustments. Even after the first round, when Navarette, I think, took second and third, even when he came back, and I think I gave him the fourth. I'm not 100% sure. I
gave him the fourth. I gave Dogboe the first, the fourth, and the seventh and eighth.
Yeah.
So I gave.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so even when he was winning rounds after that second and third round, you could see like it was almost like Navarette took the round off.
Yeah.
He wasn't throwing a lot of shots in those rounds.
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you a kid like that, you got to stick your head right in his chest. And you just don't let him breathe. Because if you give this kid room to breathe, that's when he can move his hands like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to make the fight ugly.
Yeah.
I know it's not always aesthetically pleasing, but sometimes you just got to make the fight ugly. It comes down to, do you want to make the fight aesthetically pleasing, or do you want to win? I mean, you lost your title last night. And again, this is taking nothing away from Navarette. I mean, maybe Dogboe thought that this kid was going to slow down. Maybe he thought he could hit him and stop him in his tracks a little bit. Maybe he thought he could take the starch out of him, just by landing clean flush shots, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Robert, what were your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I'm going to get criticized for saying this too, but after what I saw last night, and there was no instructions in the corner coming out of Dogboe that were worth anything, Dogboe needs to do what the Nail ended up doing. The Nail ended up bringing in a new trainer, and now he's got a new belt. Dogboe needs to do the same thing. He needs to be in a real training camp with a real experienced trainer, and use real boxers to spar with, because last night showed he wasn't prepared for what Navarette was throwing at him, and the corner didn't know how to tell him to make the proper adjustments. I think they felt like they were going to walk through this kid. He is making his U.S. debut. They probably felt like, well, he's a soft touch. Who has he fought? Because all of his fights have been in Mexico. I think this is a case where the champion, who had only had one title defense, took this kid for granted and thought he was going to win this fight at any time, and he ended up losing. I had it scored, what was it? 116, 112. For Navarette, and hey, we'll see how long he gets to hang on to this title. But if Dogboe is going to come back and possibly challenge again, he's going to have to make some major changes. And I know people don't like it whenever I say a fighter needs to do that, but in this case, he needs to do that, because otherwise we're not going to see him on TV or in any important fights in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he does need to change trainers. I mean, and get his camp right. Maybe station it here stateside and just get some new sparring partner, get something, man. And because it was pretty clear last night, he made zero adjustments. He looked the same in the first round as he did in the 12th round. Same shots, same style, same everything. Nothing changed. There was nothing that changed about it.
His dad didn't know how to tell him to change anything. It just goes to show you, when you don't have any experienced people in the corner, you're not going to win a fight. And he's lucky that he made it as far as he did after what we saw last night. Because I don't know how many fighters can win titles and yet not have an experienced person in the corner and be able to keep them. So hopefully he learns a lesson, but we'll see.
Well, the thing is too, is that I could just, like I said, I didn't hear what's in his corner, but I could just imagine what they were saying in his corner, probably something to the effect of throw more punches, and again, I don't know what they said in the corner, but I can't imagine, and that instruction gives you, it's like telling your team, your basketball team or whatever, or soccer team, they're out there just getting blown out, run faster, That's not instruction. Yeah, I know I need to throw more punches. How do I do that? How do I throw more punches?
Yeah.
Do I get underneath the left hand? Do I go over the top of the right? What do I do? How do I get there? I know I win the fight by throwing punches, but how do I do that here? Because clearly it's not working. I don't know. All right, let's talk about the fighter of the night here, man. Teofimo Lopez versus Mason Menard, not Menards. Fight of the night, man. Fighter of the night. He knocks out Mason Menard. Lopez knocks out Mason Menard in 44 seconds of the first round. It wasn't even.
I think it only took one punch.
Yeah, it wasn't even that he actually knocked him out. It was the way he was knocked out. It was a right hand completely out of nowhere that put Menard to sleep. He was out before he hit the floor. The scary thing about this one was that when he fell face first and you knew he was out, he was completely out before he hit because there was no reflex at all to break his fall. He just fell flat on his face. Nothing. I mean, he was out cold. Listen, we've seen Mason Menard fight. He's a good fighter. I mean, he's a solid fighter. Solid fighter. For him to get blown out like this, man, I mean, that guy, Teofimo Lopez, looked amazing. Beeb, what were your thoughts on this?
I was shocked. Because Menard, definitely a durable guy usually, right? Takes a while to get him out of there. I mean, he's been stopped a few times, but not blown out like that. I've seen him take a lot of heavy shots before in other fights and not get knocked out like by one shot like that. So this kid, Teofimo Lopez, has that X factor. He's got that eraser. There's no question about it. Because this isn't the first time this has happened. And this was a slight step up for him, and I don't know what else to say. I mean, this kid, obviously I want to see him in there against better opposition, but I think that this is kind of gifted power that if you can do that, when you do that to a guy and he just drops dead like that, I'm sure if he hits anyone flush like that, they're going to go. I don't care how good they are, and he's so quick, so explosive. I mean, it's going to be really fun to watch this kid progress. It's still early, obviously, but when you have the dynamic qualities that this guy has, I mean, this is must see TV here without question. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what happens next with this guy. But that was one of the most vicious knockouts I've ever seen in my life. It's up there. That's like in the top 10 best knockouts of all time. That may sound bold, but I've just never seen a guy drop face first like that.
I mean, that was a Julian Jackson type knockout.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That was a
great
Julian Jackson knockout.
That's spot on comparison right there. Spot on comparison right there. That was one of the sickest knockouts I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sort of reminded me of when Marquez hit Pacquiao with that shot he did.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
But here's the thing. Pacquiao moved into that shot.
Yeah.
This Lopez stepped forward and he created the momentum himself. What, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like Menard leaned into him, So it was crazy.
I know, and he's the scary part about this. Here's another guy, only 11 pro fights and 9 knockouts, and he did this to a guy that had 37 fights, 34 wins. I mean, they were hoping that Menard would take him a few rounds, so the people at Top Rank could see what they had, and obviously what can you? If you're Top Rank now, what do you do? Because this was supposed to be his big test to see if he was ready for something bigger, and he blows a guy out with that much experience. What do you do if you're his management team now after he does something like this?
I don't know. He said that Lopez said after the fight, I guess he said that he wanted to be champion. That he was going to be champion in 2019. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think you have to put him in against stiffer competition, no question. But it's kind of hard to doubt him, man. I tell you what. I mean, he looked amazing.
Yeah, and I think he's only 20, 21 years old, and I mean, this is almost like Lomachenko-esque here. because I've seen him fight several times on ESPN, and every time I've seen him, he's thoroughly dominated the people he's been in against. And I was looking forward to this because I've seen Menard fight several times, like on Showbox, and Mason Menard he's no joke. He's a decent fighter, and for him to literally blow this guy out in 44 seconds, it's like, okay, we have to look at the list of available opponents here and see who can give him a stern test, you know?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I tell you what, I don't know. Like, who would you, Robert? You're a good matchmaker here. Who would you put him in against?
Now, let's see, what weight class was this?
135,
like
135, lightweights.
You're gonna laugh at this, but how about somebody as experienced as Jorge Linares?
I don't know, man. That might be.
That's too much.
Might be stepping out a little bit more. I don't know.
You've got to find out what's in this kid's tool bag, don't you?
You do. You know who I'd like to see him in there?
What about Luke Campbell?
I was going to say either like a Luke Campbell or like an Anthony Crawla. I think those are good fights for him.
I mean,
who's that Filipino kid at lightweight there? The hell's his name?
To see what this kid's got.
What about Felix Verdejo?
The problem with Evil Knievel there is we don't know what he's got.
Oh, Jesus.
I like Devin Haney. That's a good fight for him.
Yeah, and Haney's one that needs a test also. So, you know, again, they're on opposite sides of the street. Is Bob Arum willing to work with people?
Masito Gesta. That's the guy I'm thinking of. That would be a pretty good fight too.
Good fight too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the guy I was thinking about, the Filipino kid.
Yeah.
I tell you what, any way it goes, he's got to. It'll be a step up from Mason Menard, which is, I mean, hey, Mason Menard's a good question. Yeah, he's a good fighter.
That kid will give you rounds.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to it. He's definitely must see TV. All right, go ahead.
I think Top Rank's goal here last night was we need to see this kid go rounds.
What about Louis Ritson? That'd be an interesting fight too.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too.
Louis Ritson.
Oh,
the English guy.
Yeah.
British kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good fights, man. All right, let's talk about the zone. Kell Brook, your boy. Beeb, your boy, returned on the zone versus Michael.
Mr. Broken Ice Hockey.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow. Robert just piling on everybody today. All right, Kell Brook versus Michael Zerafa, the WBA Super Welterweight Eliminator. Kell Brook wins a unanimous decision over Michael Zerafa by the scores of 118 to 110, 119 to 109, and 117 to 111. Beeb, how does Kell Brook win by those scores and look so terrible? Kell Brook, I tell you what, he didn't look good. Was it me, or did you see him get hit with right hands, overhand rights? Not just right hands, not just clipping them with hooks, overhand right.
I was shocked.
All night, son.
What was that round? I think it was round 7, where Zerafa like landed a couple combinations and backed him up to the ropes too.
Yeah, it hurt him. You could see he was hurt.
Yeah, he stunned him a little bit, right?
For sure.
You know, I just think Kell is really chasing Amir Khan. He's got Amir Khan on the brain. And I'm not 100% sure he was 100% focused for this fight.
Well, he had a new trainer.
You know, he had a new trainer.
I mean, he looked terrible with the new trainer. I got to be honest.
So does this mean Kell Brook? Is this the best Kell Brook? No, I don't think so. I really don't. But it's not a good look. I mean, he's supposed to blow this kid out of there, or at least win very convincingly. He did win very convincingly, but there was a few hiccups in there that were unexpected. Eddie Hearn even said that, you know, he looked a little bit subpar. And then he admitted after the fight that he was a little rusty. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not really high on the Amir Khan fight because I don't like Kell Brook at welterweight. And it bothers me to hear Eddie Hearn say that this guy can make welterweight again. I don't think he can make it comfortably. Because let me ask you this.
I've got to ask a question.
Well, let me finish my point, and then I'll let you ask the question.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Eric.
Yeah.
When you saw him, Kell Brook versus Gennady Golovkin, and then you saw Amir Khan versus Saul Canelo Alvarez, right?
Yeah.
Look at the two bodies. Even at 160, Kell Brook was solid. He still was pretty lean and ripped.
Yeah.
Amir Khan was like kind of soft. He had love handles. He looked like a little flabby. So, this kid is definitely a bigger man than Amir Khan. He's got a bigger frame. Look at it. He's got a thicker neck. He's just a muscular guy. He's a big framed guy. He's not a welterweight. I think his best weight is at 154. So then you say, well, who's he going to fight? A huge guy like Jarrett Hurd, the Charlo brothers? No. Have him fight a kid like Jaime Munguia, a kid that gets hit a lot. Let him get the WBO title.
Yeah.
And let him make some money there. And then eventually, keep him away from the Jarrett Hurds and the Charlos as long as you can. Let him get a title. Let him make some money with the title. And see if Amir Khan can would meet him at a catchweight for that title. But I can see where Amir Khan's coming from, because he's saying to himself, I got Terrence Crawford in front of me. That's for a title. I have a good chance of losing both fights, so I might as well take a fight where at least if I win, I have a title and I could be considered one of the best in the world. What do I get when I beat Kell Brook? Eddie Hearn's saying that it's a substantially bigger money fight. I mean, they'd offered him a $5 million guarantee with Terrence Crawford. So, and I'm sure that they could get some UK pay-per-view money on the back end on top of that $5 million. So is that Kell Brook fight really that much more money than the Crawford fight? Is it comparable? Eddie Hearn seems to think that he can make double fighting Kell Brook. So he can get $10 million to fight Kell Brook? Really? That's a $10 million fight? I don't know. You guys in the UK tell me. Because I don't know. I'm not privy to all this stuff. I could be wrong. But I just think that the whole thing of thinking about Amir Khan, then he tried to weigh like 150 for this fight just to prove that he could still fight close to 147 instead of weighing in at the 154 limit.
Which made no sense.
It made no sense. So it's like I just think a lot of this going on right now in his head is psychological. Did he lose some? Yeah. But did he lose that much? No. I mean, a more focused Kell Brook, I think, would have gotten, taking nothing away from Zerafa. He came to fight too. But you could tell that Kell Brook wasn't focused. He had a lot of things going on in his mind. And he's got this Amir Khan fight. He can't stop talking about it. He's obsessed with Amir Khan. And, he's got to let it go. 147 with a rehydration clause. Why?
I got to be honest, man. I never liked the Amir Khan fight.
I'm not crazy about it. Not now.
Because I thought it was a one-sided fight from the get-go. I thought Kell Brook mashes him from the start.
He's just too big. He's too big at this point.
Way too big.
He's not 170. He's not a 147 pounder anymore. He's not. And anyone who tells him he is, they're lying to him. And if he believes he is, he's lying to himself, in my opinion.
And what does he do now? I mean, he's now the mandatory with the win. He's now the mandatory for Jarrett Hurd. If I'm Brooks people, I tell him to go nowhere near Hurd, man. But then again, this is the same people who threw him in against Triple G, then had him come down and wait to fight Errol Spence and got knocked out again. His
best.
I tell you what, his handlers botched his career, and they all should be ashamed of themselves.
He doesn't give two shits about him.
They could care less about this guy.
Oh, he should never fight at 147 again.
This was always my big criticism of Eddie Hearn, and
he's too short. He's too short-sighted. He's too short-sighted.
The way he handled Kell Brook, because the Lions
ruined him
against Triple G, and then having him drop all that weight and come back and defend. I don't care what Kell Brook wanted to do. I could care less what he wanted to do, because that's what they're going to. Kell Brook wanted.
Triple G ruined him. Triple G ruined him.
Right, and they just took him in there because he knew he's a warrior and he's going to do it. And yeah, Triple G completely dismantled that guy.
Destroyed him. Destroyed his career.
Have him come back down, lose all that weight, because he's solid fighter. I mean, as far as like his body type and everything, the guy is solid.
Did he look fat at all in that Triple G fight? He was a solid 158 pounds. And then look at Khan when Khan tried to fight at middleweight.
Right.
You could tell that didn't look right. This guy's a legitimate 154-pounder. Legitimate.
Yeah.
Just fight the Jaime Munguias of the world.
Yeah.
Eddie's
the one, somebody in the chat, Eddie's the one who told Brook to take the fight. Yeah, I know. That's what I just said, stupid. Why don't you listen?
The problem you have here, it sounds like Eddie Hearn is putting the pressure on Kell Brook to, fight Khan. And he should be working on everything. Although, as bad as Kell Brook looked, according to what you guys have just said, Munguia might take him apart, because whenever Munguia has stepped to the ring, he's pretty much destroyed everybody he's been in the ring with. So I wonder, did Triple G totally take everything away from Kell Brook, or did Earl Spence take everything away from Kell Brook? And is there anything of Kell Brook left for anybody to? Is it worth him fighting anymore? From your descriptions, it doesn't sound like it.
Well, and you know what? And I understand Eddie Hearn from a promotional side saying, yeah, let's go ahead and make the Brook and Amir Khan fight because that's a better fight. And it's not a better fight. It's a better fight for Eddie Hearn. It's a better fight for Matchroom because they're both the guys. He goes across the street. He's getting murked by Terrence Crawford. He's not coming out of that fight, And so that's why they want to keep it in-house, because he makes all the money, and it's just nonsense. And that's how he's always been.
Henraps made a point in the chat. He said that Jaime Munguia is too big for Brook too. I can see you saying that, but the thing is
experience-wise, but you got to think experience.
Look at how successful Liam Smith was against Jaime Munguia. I agree with you, Henraps. Yeah, he's a big dude too, but he doesn't have he's not. I don't think he has the one-punch knockout power that the Charlo, the Charlos have, or that Jarrett Hurd. I don't think he's as big and strong as experienced as a Charlo or a Jarrett Hurd. So I think Kell Brook is skilled enough where he could land a lot of shots against Munguia and outbox him, because Munguia has a very, very suspect defense. He gets hit a lot. Liam Smith won rounds against him until he got stopped. That was a competitive fight.
Yeah, it was.
And I think Kell Brook's better than Liam Smith.
Don't you think though that Kell Brook going against Jarrett Hurd is like suicide?
Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful.
I mean, he's got to fight somebody. He can't. I don't think he can beat Errol Spence. I don't think he can beat any of those guys down at 147. So,
no. Because he can't make 147.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He'll dry out making 147. Can't make it.
So I would rather put him in there with a Munguia who gets hit a lot and who's not that hard to find, as opposed to a Jarrett Hurd who's just a beast and a Charlo. I think that's the best case scenario for him.
He gets absolutely murdered by Charlo or Jarrett Hurd.
Now, would you agree that he would have a chance to maybe possibly outpoint a Munguia?
No,
because of the lack of experience. Or you think, or would you say
rounds until he gets rattled? And I think Munguia will.
You think Munguia would eventually catch up with him and wear him down too?
Munguia fight is a much better fight for him than Jarrett Hurd or Charlo. Much better fight for him.
But you still think he's drawing dead though?
Oh yeah. He's going to get beat either way.
Fair enough point.
Yeah, he's going to get beat either way.
I just see something in Munguia, and I like Munguia. I mean, he's going to get better, but I just see that the defense is a little bit porous.
Oh, for sure. But he's a big guy. Out of the champions at 154, he's definitely the weakest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I just don't think that Brook can go down to 147 and be successful. I just don't think he can make the cut properly.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, let's talk about the fights on HBO. This was HBO's last broadcast for boxing. I'll be honest, I had no interest and did not watch it. I forgot it was on, to be honest. I have it recorded, and maybe I'll go back and watch it. Maybe not. HBO has really given us great fights over the years, and they really set the standard for things you're seeing today. But for them to put this card out as their final card, when you look at their history, Hearns, Leonard, Duran, Hagler, everybody, you look at all this history, Michael Moore, George Foreman. I mean, you look at all this history.
Tyson, Buster Douglas.
Right. You have all this history on HBO. And for them to put this card on as their final card was just ridiculous. The card was awful. Not because there were two women in fights on there, not because it was a mostly women card. women fighting on there. It was because we all knew going in that the fights were not competitive. They were not competitive fights. And that's the way it turned out. Cecilia Breakhus won a unanimous decision. Juan Francisco Estrada knocked this guy out in the 7th round, and Claressa Shields won a unanimous decision. It was an awful send-off for a show that gave us so many great fights. It really was.
Then Max Kellerman had like a frog in his throat because he lost his voice. He sounded like Burgess Meredith in there from Rocky. It's like, don't they have sick days at HBO? You can't take a sick day?
Don't gargle some tea in the back. All right, we don't need to hear you anyway.
I'm not, no disrespect to any of those guys, but I'm just not going to miss the commentary. And I like Roy Jones as, seems like a really nice guy, but he's just crazy with some of the things he says. He's like, oh, well, Claressa Shields, she's slapping with that hook. She's got to sit down on the punches. And then they asked him, oh, well, Roy, you think she can move? You think if she moves down to 154, she'll still have that power? Or if she, do you think she'll still be a big puncher? Oh yeah, she's a very sharp puncher. She turns her shots over well. But Roy, you just said she slaps with her hook, and she's not. So which one is it? You just said she doesn't sit down on her hook and she slaps with it. So how could she? So if you're already criticizing the way she's throwing punches now, how could she move down? How come all of a sudden she's a great puncher, a sharp puncher?
Yeah, it was. I mean, does anybody have any comments on the fights itself? I mean, was there anything that stood out to you?
I'll make a quick comment on Claressa Shields. I do see some improvement. I mean, she is sitting down on the shots more. She's turning them over better. Her punches look sharper. She's putting them together better. But every now and then she does still, when she gets excited, flail a little bit. And it seems as though like she's in like the corner, and she's talking to John David Jackson, and she's saying to him, "Oh, I need to step it up. I need to push pace." Like she just seems like so anxious for the knockouts, and she just may not be that. She just may not be that type of fighter, and I think it bothers her that she's not, because sometimes she looks very anxious in there, like she puts too much pressure on herself to look good. And I get it. Obviously, you want to look good. You're on television. And she also puts too much pressure on herself to get the knockout. She needs to just let her offense flow. And she does at times, but she just gets frustrated. Like late in the fight when she landed a beautiful left hook and spun the girl's head around. And if there was more time left on the clock, she probably would have stopped her. But that came because of patience, because of just throwing the combination instinctively without saying, I gotta knock her out. Just let the punches flow. And she let that punch flow, and she could have gotten a knockout if there was probably more time left in the round. So it was the last round anyway. So that's my comments on her. But keep in mind, she have like 8 fights now. How many fights do you have? Like 8 or not? How many fights, Robbie? Is it 8?
No.
Yeah.
8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's still time for her to get better.
How far away in weight? And I think isn't Shields at 160 or something like that? Or
Shields is at 160.
Is at 154.
And Breakhouse is at 147.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. 147.
So they'd have to meet at 154.
Yeah, that's a big jump, man. That's a big jump for Break.
And then Roy Jones also said, like they asked him, can she make 154? Can she drop 10 pounds? And Roy goes, well, looking at her body there, she could probably squeeze 10 more pounds off it. Like I know what he meant, but it just came off wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she could probably knock off 10 more pounds.
That's the worst thing you want to say to a female, right? That you could drop 10 more pounds.
That's great.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to tell a girl that. Oh my God.
That's awesome. How did Larry Larry Merchant on there last night?
Yeah, he made an appearance. He didn't do any commentating, but
he didn't do any commentating. What did he do?
They interviewed him between fights.
Yeah, because I missed that part.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
And they did a nice retrospective after the fights were over with, showing all the top fights that they showed over the last 45 years. And God, every fight they shown, man, I watched every single one of them, and I'm like, wow, you know, I am getting old because I remember every single one of those fights. You know, it's like,
Robbie,
it was kind of sad. Really.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Watch that.
I heard it was a good send off. Go ahead, Beeb.
Robbie, what did you think of Jim Lampley taking shots at the attendants when they were like they had the camera pan out to the crowd? And what did Lampley say? Something like, "Well, here's a shot of the crowd if you want to call it that," or something to that effect. I'm just paraphrasing there, but he took it.
Honestly, Joe, I hate to say this, but it was deserved. But on the other hand, I also don't blame the people for not buying the tickets.
But Robbie, you're broadcasting the fights, and they're on your network. Your network bought the fight. So why would you downplay the fight if your network bought the fight?
Because your network's a moron.
Yeah.
That would be like me hiring you for a job.
But it was his last job, though.
And then saying you suck every day. Every day I come in, hey, I hired you, but guess what? You know, you suck. But I'm going to keep you anyways. It's like, why? You know, yeah. I just thought it made no sense.
Steve Kim took a picture right before the main event started at the venue. I think it was StubHub Center, and it looked like there were 20 people there. I mean, that place was completely empty. Completely empty. Real quick. Your favorite HBO fight, Robert, go.
Oh my God.
Just one. You only got one.
Mine would have to be Hearns and Hagler.
Hearns and Hagler. Joe, go.
Well, Hearns Hagler was pay-per-view, Robbie, right?
No. It was.
I thought it was on regular HBO. Yeah.
Was it on regular HBO?
Yeah.
I was going to HBO pay-per-view. I'm good with this.
Okay, I was going to say either that one or Douglas Tyson.
Douglas Tyson. Okay.
I'm going to say Douglas Tyson.
Mine.
Oh,
mine without question.
Go ahead, Eric.
Chavez Taylor.
Wow, that's a good one too, Eric. Shoot, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Douglas Tyson because that was like the biggest upset in history.
Yeah. You could also do, if you're going to pay-per-view, you could also do Hearns Leonard 1 if you're going to pay-per-view. So
speaking of that, the Tyson Douglas fight, ESPN's doing a 30 for 30 on that Tuesday night.
I know. I can't wait to watch it. It looks great. It looks awesome. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here, and then we'll go to the callers. December 14th. Robert, is this Friday?
Yes.
All right. From Corpus Christi, Texas on ESPN+, Gilberto Zerto Ramirez versus Jesse Hart. It's a rematch, 12 rounds for Ramirez's WBO super middleweight title. It's a good fight, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hart takes it this time.
Wow, okay.
Hart's going to take it this time? Is that what Robbie said?
Yeah, he's taking Hart.
I think Hart's going to take it this time.
Taking Hart. Also too, and I wanted to give a shout out here on that undercard on ESPN+, and we may be able to watch it. I don't know. Roberto Duran Jr. will be on the undercard versus Leonardo Pena, 4 rounds, welterweights. So I will be really looking for that. They actually, Zena and her team with Vinny Paz and everybody sent me a Team Duran hat, so I do definitely appreciate that. And so I will be definitely watching Roberto Duran in that fight. So there you go. On December 15th on ESPN+ from Brentwood, England, Daniel Dubois versus Razvan Kajanu, 10 rounds heavyweights. Bradley Skeet versus Diego Ramirez, 10 rounds welterweights. And let's see, anybody else? No. Also on the 15th, Saturday at New York on DAZN, Rocky Fielding versus Canelo Alvarez, 12 rounds for Fielding's WBA regular super middleweight title. David Lemieux on the undercard against Terriano Johnson. Tevin Farmer versus Francisco Fonseca, 12 rounds for Farmer's IBF junior lightweight title. Friend of the show, Saddam Ali versus Mauricio Herrera. That should be a good fight. 10 rounds welterweights. Katie Taylor versus Eva Wallstrom, 10 rounds for Taylor's IBF and WBA women's lightweight title. Ryan Garcia on the undercard versus the dreaded TBA. That's a good card. That's a good card from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of it, lot of good fights on there. A lot of good, a lot of good prospects on there. A lot of good, fights you want to see. I mean, shouldn't be on pay-per-view. So there you go. Let's see here. Let's come back to that fight here in a minute. Let's see what else we got going on. That's it. That's pretty much it for this weekend. So let's talk about this Canelo real quick. Talk about the Canelo Fielding fight. I think that it's definitely a setup for Canelo. I think that, I don't know that Fielding brings anything to the table, to be honest with you, to threaten Canelo in any way. Am I wrong here? I know he's got the height advantage. He's got the reach advantage. I don't know that he has much else.
I don't understand the purpose of taking this fight, Eric, to be honest with you. I know he's going to collect another belt, but if he's not going to stay at 168, then why go up there and take this? I don't get it.
Well, like I said before, he had 2 tough fights in a row, and you can't just keep putting a guy in there back to back to back to back to back. And if you judge and you look at the history of these fighters, they do have, soft touches in between the marquee fights. So I'm not crazy about the fight, but I don't hate the fight 100%. Like I know why it's happening, and I can deal with why it's happening. I understand why it's happening, but that's not going to erase the fact that I don't think it's a competitive fight at all. I don't think it's a great fight, and I don't think we're going to get any surprises here. I don't think there's going to be any upset specials here. Canelo is just he's got a great chin, number one. He's in pretty great shape as well. He's a sturdy guy, and he's got great defense. He's just too fast. He's too slick for Fielding, and I think Fielding is going to get busted up.
My guess is that he murders that body.
Yeah.
That he goes right after his body, doesn't stop, and I say knockout within 6.
And then if I hate to keep going off topic here, but if Triple G ends up going to PBC, Triple G is going to have all those guys over there to fight, and Canelo's going to have nobody over there. Who's he going to fight? David Lemieux? Who really cares about that fight?
Yeah, and Triple G doesn't seem real interested in a third Canelo fight. He thought he thinks he won the first 2, and he thought he got an unfair shake by the judges, which either here nor there. But
I guess the only big fight out there for Canelo Alvarez right now outside of Golovkin is Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the only thing left.
They said, they said something real interesting, Beeb, and this is, I sent you this earlier on in the week about Tom Loeffler.
Yeah.
Not present at the PBC negotiations for Triple G. Yeah. And he wasn't present at the DAZN negotiations or whatever.
Yeah.
And that he only has them on like a fight-by-fight basis. It's not under big contract or anything like that. I mean, he's just, they've just kind of done this on a fight-by-fight basis, which I was really surprised by.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. If you're Triple G, I mean, do you go, do you go to PBC? Do you go to DAZN? I heard DAZN offered him more money
than PBC did.
Yeah. That's what they did in the ESPN article I read. So
but during the Fury pay-per-view, they made a big deal about Golovkin being in the audience. So when I saw that, I'm like,
he's going to PBC.
Getting closer to joining Showtime.
Better fights over at PBC. Better fights over at PBC, especially now. Wherever Triple G goes, Daniel Jacobs follows. If he goes to DAZN, Jacobs goes to DAZN. If he goes to PBC, then Jacobs goes to PBC. There's no two ways about it. Jacobs will follow that guy because that's the money guy.
And Jacobs already has an in because he used to be there in the first place. So,
Yeah. Because
Jacobs hasn't.
Canelo's going to fight him. You know what I mean?
And how much long on the deal does Eddie Hearn have with Jacobs?
I hear that Jacobs is a free agent.
Oh, he's a free agent now.
That's what I've been hearing.
I think he had a 3-fight deal was that deal with Hearn 3 fights?
I think it's done. Yeah, I think it's done.
It's got to be over now, right?
Right.
I think it's done.
All right, let's go to the callers.
He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Oh, Robert.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
You're you're not hearing Jacob's a free agent. I sent you the video of him saying it. Remember 2 days ago?
No, stupid. I heard it. I heard it way before then, son.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, Beeb, I'm telling Eric he's a free agent. He's telling me I'm a moron, and I sent him a video of Jacob saying he's a free agent. Then he started calling me names.
Well, to be fair, I think I think it was public knowledge that it was only a 3-fight deal, anyways, with Hearn, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but everybody was saying he's going to the zone for like months. Everybody's saying, "Oh, he's with."
They did. You are correct. There was rumors that said that Jacobs was going to the zone because Canelo was there. Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to deny that.
Not rumors, like these reporters were saying, and Mike Coppinger also had to confirm it. But I just sent Eric a video. It was at a local New York show. He said, "I'm a free agent and I can go anywhere." So that's good though. And I also GGG, he had some managers out of Germany, Herman Brothers or something. They used to handle all his business, and Tom was just hired. Like remember, like the Klitschko brothers only hired Tom to do their shows. They didn't have a long-term deal with him either.
Yeah.
Now he can go wherever he wants. That's really smart.
Yeah.
Also, I thought Teofimo stole the show last night. He said he was going to, and that's exactly what he did. Menard looked, he was fucking comatose for a few seconds out there.
He definitely got a concussion.
He didn't look. He looked like he was out of it.
Beeb, you were saying that's one of the best knockouts. Did you forget Charlo versus Hadley at the Barclays a couple of months ago, or maybe last year? That was a one-punch face-first knockout. Remember?
Was it as good as that one though?
Probably not. He didn't do the zombie fucking.
Yeah, this guy went down like he got shot.
Yeah, that was bad, man.
Well, did you watch the countdown show, Beeb? I told you to. It just came on Fox Sports.
I didn't, Jason. I was out.
It'll do it tomorrow, 10 p.m. They're really good, man. They just let the fighters talk for like 30 minutes.
Oh, is that all they do? So it's just kind of like a show for the fighters to get like just talk and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like they went to their houses, they were showing them waking up their kids and shit, going to the gym, talking about their lives. Like Harrison talking about how he's foreclosed, their house got foreclosed on when they were like 10 years old, like kind of things that get you invested in the fighters. I didn't know any of this stuff about Charles or Harrison. That's pretty good. It was 2 shows, 30 minutes back to back. They just let the fighters give each fighter, let them talk about their lives and stuff. So it's good. You guys should watch
That's interesting.
Fox Sports, 10 p.m.
And I'm not really into shows like that. You know what I mean? I don't like to see, what they do at home. I could care less, and how they, that kind of stuff. But
only 15-minute segments, dude. You watch them online all the time. Like embedded, same thing. It's embedded pretty much. Don't you watch that shit?
No.
Those videos are so popular, dude.
I don't watch them, man. I don't watch any of that stuff. But I mean, I think it is important, like you said. I mean, because that they're trying to tell a story, and
I think it's good exposure for the fighters.
Right.
That's what I think it's really good for the fighters. Yeah.
Dude, Harrison's granddad was a fighter who had 99 pro fights. I didn't know that shit. William Hankern or some shit. I don't know. Hank something, dude. Beeb, you probably know about it.
What is it?
Why would Beeb know about it? Because he's like
Hankern or something. I mean, he's a real pro. He had 99 fights. He was one of the best. And he used to train with Emmanuel Stewart. And also, Emmanuel Stewart was the one who saw Harrison fighting in the amateurs, and he called his dad and told him to keep fighting. So, those are the kind of things I learned about.
Hammer and Hank. The only Hammer and Hank I know of is Henry Armstrong.
Yeah. Homicide Hank.
Maybe I'm wrong, but you'll see it tomorrow night, 10 p.m. You'll see it. He's a pro. Harrison's granddad. Also, what did you guys think about Dogboe, man? Was that bad matchmaking? Because I know a couple of
not really.
Bob was saying Bob was saying there's a clause in the contract that he has to take Dogboe for one fight in Ghana, and I'm like, knowing Bob, I wonder if he gave him a tough fight just because he doesn't have to take him to Ghana. Because that matchmaking did not look like top-ranked matchmaking. They give their fucking hype. The guys that try to hype, they give him at least 2-3 soft touches. That kid looked like that was a total mismatch to me. What do you think?
I don't think it was a mismatch at all. I mean, it was 115. What do we have? What do we have? A 115, 113? I had a
116, 112.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't a mismatch.
What weight class was that? What weight class was that, Beeb? Or Eric? Dogboe.
Let me see here.
Was that at 130?
That guy looked fucking
junior featherweight. Yeah.
130, right?
120. What is it? 126 or one?
Oh, junior featherweight?
Yeah, junior featherweight. 126.
Oh, 122. Junior featherweight's 122.
Yeah.
That Mexican kid could have been 130 or 135 pounds, right, Eric?
Yeah.
122. Okay.
Yeah. One below Leo Santa Cruz, and that Mexican kid looked like he would be a 130 pounder. So I mean, I don't know what.
He was giant. He was gigantic. That's why I said
that guy came from Zanfer. That guy comes from Zanfer. everybody in that Zanfer, they're all killers. It was it didn't. What Canelo came from Zanfer? Who else came from Zanfer? Marquez came from Zanfer.
Yeah, Marquez.
Yeah, they're all good fighters. They're all good fighters, man.
Beeb, I noticed something. Fucking Dogboe, he was screaming all week, Neho, Neho. Even on the way to the ring, this guy is screaming Neho. Shouldn't he be saving his energy? Because I saw after the second round, he was breathing with his mouth open, and I'm like, all week this kid has been fucking acting hype. Even walking to the ring, you're screaming Neho, Neho with the fucking drummers and shit. Shouldn't you be saving your energy before the fight?
Yeah, probably, but
I don't know. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. As far as like, it was like I don't know.
It was the
round 3, Eric. That's not supposed to happen to a pro fighter.
He did, but a lot of I mean, when you get in there, you're under lights, you're on TV. I mean, it's a different animal.
The pace of that.
Tommy Boxeo just said his category is from Zanfer also. Guys are murderers.
Yep.
Yeah, the pace of that fight was insane, though.
That was the best thing about the night. That Matrix light show, that was kind of sick.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? That was real cool.
That was way better than the Loma's performance in the fight. That fight was boring, dude.
Come on, son.
I'm being honest here. I thought I was grading on maybe I was being a tough judge because I saw what Tank did to him. And Tank was like 16 fights in, 22 years old. I remember Tank was looking at the crowd and joking with the crowd, pumping his fist, pumping his chest. That's how he was toying with Pedraza. And I mean, Loma looked kind of shook to me. Like he didn't expect Pedraza to come that. Like Pedraza was throwing a lot of punches in the first few rounds. I mean, he didn't expect that, and he was landing clean punches. And after the fight, even Loma's face was all bruised up and shit. I didn't expect that at all.
Beeb, how did you score that fight?
Maybe it's age, maybe it's the
116, 112.
For you had it for Loma?
Oh no, I had that 119, 107. I'm sorry.
I had it 119, 107 too. Jason, you had that fight scored at one time, what, 4-1 for Pedraza? You gave him the first 4 or 5 rounds?
Remember after 7 rounds they went to Andre Ward, he said I had it 4-3 Loma, remember that?
Yeah, Andre Ward, but he had it tight.
Yeah, he had it tight.
I did too. The first 6, 7, 8 rounds. I did too.
I didn't have that fight.
Well, you and Andre Ward were the only ones that had it tight.
Right. Even Stephen A was scoring it better than that.
Remember Bradley asked Mark Kriegel, does Loma look his regular self? Because he doesn't look his usual self. I mean, that's what that looked like. He just looked slow to me.
Kriegel sucks.
I don't know what that was.
Kriegel's a moron. They need to get rid of Kriegel.
Kriegel's horrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, but Robbie, were you impressed by his performance last night, Robbie?
Looks like they may wind up doing that, Eric, because ESPN said during the broadcast Max Kellerman would be joining them at ringside on ESPN.
And they gave him a new
get
show
rid of Kriegel.
A boxing show.
If they don't get rid of Kriegel and then put Max in that spot, then they're crazy.
Yeah. Kriegel's got to go.
Too much talk. Too many alphas.
Well, that's what they're doing. So
That's it.
BBC needs one more guy. They only have 2 guys. The new Fox deal, they only have 2 NBC guys. They need one fighter in there.
Hall of Famer Teddy Atlas' son. That's who they're going to get.
Joe Tessitore's got to calm down too. He screams.
Who do they have doing the Fox? I haven't heard.
Just 2 the 2 freaking that vanilla hacks that Fox hires for random things like Kenny Albert or somebody. He's like weirdos,
Oh, okay.
Kenny Albert's been boxing before though. I remember his voice.
Yeah.
Tommy Boxeo says Juan Francisco Estrada is also with Zanfer. I'm hearing Ringside Robert came out of Zanfer. It's crazy.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, what do you think about Teofimo versus Beltran next? What do you think about that?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Teofimo versus Beltran.
It's a good fight.
It's a good fight. He said Beltran is shot. Robbie
Robbie
put the kibosh on it.
Yeah.
Robbie doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it.
Said he's shot.
Hey, how many rounds do you think Teofimo knocks Pedraza out? And I think he knocks him out in 6 rounds, maybe 5. What do you think?
Nope. No, not at 135. Not at 135, son. Pedraza's a different guy.
Tank knocked him out in 7.
At 135, he's a different guy.
Yeah, I know 135. Pedraza sucks. He's nothing. Loma just looks good against Loma because
135, he sucks. He's nothing. Oh my God.
I think Teofimo would knock Pedraza out like Tank did, even worse probably.
No. Not with his right now, no.
Beeb, Eric, I'm asking Beeb, what's wrong with you? What the hell, dude?
You're a moron, son.
Say it again. I can't hear you because you're yelling too much.
Pedraza out. just like Tank did, or even worse.
Teofimo, would he knock Pedraza out worse than Tank?
Yeah,
right now.
7 rounds. I mean, that's all. That's what I see. When I see that fight happening, I see Pedraza getting washed and getting knocked out way worse. Just like Tank, or he was not go distance with Teofimo like he did last night with Loma. That's for damn sure.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Yeah, it's way too early to tell.
You guys have been brainwashed to put Loma in this fucking god pedestal. Who the fuck is he even beaten? I mean, he hasn't beaten fucking legends or Hall of Famers.
What?
Fuck out of here.
Get out of here.
Mikey and Teofimo would knock Loma out, and I think Tank would knock Loma out too. I mean, I'm just being honest.
You're just upset that Loma is not part of the PBC. That's all.
He's hating, son.
Dude,
He's hating big time.
He would get knocked out on PBC. Mikey would knock him out.
Well, there ain't gonna be anything left of Mikey after March 16th.
But Robbie, look at Loma's face after he fought Pedraza. If his face is looking like that.
How many times do we got to tell these people that you don't score facial damage?
Right. It was 119, 107, son. Get over it. It was wide margin. Wide margin. Wide margin.
He lost one.
All right, Jason, we're going to get moving here. All right, Jason.
See ya. Good God. Learn to watch real fights for Christ's sake.
Oh, my goodness. Area code 805. You're live.
Hello, Nacho.
Guys, what's up?
Nacho, what's happening?
What's up, Notch?
As far as the fights last night, Loma, I thought, Pedraza presented somewhat of a puzzle for him, and it took him a few rounds to figure him out. But I thought once he was able to figure out more or less that Pedraza was in there just to kind of play a spoiler, because Pedraza, it was weird. After the fight, he said that he was proud of his effort and that he was proud that he went the distance. So it feels to me like he was out there trying, his best to try to win that fight. It just kind of felt like his whole intention was just to go the distance and say he lost on points. And I didn't get the scoring by the announcer because I didn't think the fight was that close. So that's just, my opinion. But I thought Loma did a good job in the second half of the fight of, taking away what Pedraza wanted to do, and he knocked him down, and then, he put it away at the end. So, I mean, it's an okay performance, but I think he can be a lot better, especially considering that, he just had a surgery.
How'd you have the fight scored?
I had it like you guys. I had it 119, 107. I didn't think it was anything like some of these other people were saying that it was 4-3 after the first 7 rounds. But that's just me. As far as the co-main, I don't know if Dogboe or Dogboe had any choice as far as fighting Navarette, because he was the mandatory. So in order to keep his belt, he had to fight him. I had seen Navarette fight at least a couple years ago on one of those box Azteca shows before, and I thought the kid was okay, but I never thought he was ever going to be like a world-class guy. So he's improved a lot in the last couple of years, and he's gotten better. The one thing that I think you guys have said was that I was surprised that he didn't try to use his jab more often. He was just kind of going in there, really swinging away with like hooks and uppercuts and crosses on Dogboe, and he got away with it. But I think against guys who are going to be, a little bit bigger, closer to his size, like maybe a Daniel Roman or a Ray Vargas or guys of that ilk, he's going to have to use the jab because they're just as big as he is, if not, bigger, and he's got to be able to set up his punches. He was able to get away with it against Dogboe because Dogboe is like 5'3", and I think Navarette was like 5'8" or something like that. So he looked huge compared to Dogboe. But the kid looked good, and he put on a good performance. And I had it scored like they did, 8-4. I thought he pretty much outclassed Dogboe in the second half of that fight and pulled away at the very end. And then as far as the other fight with Teofimo,
that was a hell of a knockout. I mean, you can't dispute that. As far as some of the guys you were saying that you would throw him in there with, I was wondering, like, if you guys had said anything about, like, your Don Jordan or maybe Edward Cherry or Ricky Burns or maybe even Yvonne Mendy, guys of that, experience. I think those guys would be, a good test for him. I wouldn't put him in there like Robbie said against Linares. That's too big of a step up at this point.
I know, but you got to see him against somebody that can take him some rounds. That was my whole point.
I get it, Robbie, but I think guys like Jordan or Ricky Burns or Edward Cherry, I think they could do that. I think they could take the kids from.
I forgot about Edward Cherry. Yeah, that would be a good one for him. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Does Burns have anything left?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, it wouldn't hurt to find out if he does have anything left.
Okay.
Yeah. And you guys brought up Luke Campbell. I don't think Luke Campbell would do it because he's the mandatory for the WBC belt that Mikey Garcia has.
Yeah.
So he's not going to risk that to fight a guy like Teofimo.
By the way, who's going to fight for the IBF? They said last night it was vacant.
Yeah, it's the two top contenders are Richard Tomei and this Russian guy named Isa Shamiev. I've never even seen the guy fight, but him and Kami are fighting for that belt that Mikey just vacated.
Okay.
They're fighting, I think, sometime. The rumor was supposedly that ESPN is going to pick that fight up and put it as the co-main to the Kovalev-Alvarez rematch in February. They said they're going to broadcast it on that show. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to make it for early February from everything I've been reading.
Okay.
And then as far as the HBO show, that was just awful. And I agree with you guys that it's not because of the fact that it was two, women fighters. It was just those two fights were just complete mismatches. Well, actually, all three.
Yeah, all three.
Complete mismatches because even Estrada schooled the guy that they put in there against him, and he embarrassed him, and the guy ended up quitting on his stool. So, I mean, that was just terrible. That's not a good way to end HBO boxing after, all the great fights like you guys were saying. And What was funny was, I don't know if you guys got to see it, but at the very end, like the last maybe 15, 20 minutes of the show, like the last 15, they showed a retrospective of a bunch of great fights they had on over the years. And they showed all those fights you guys were talking about. And then they showed Manny Pacquiao when he beat Barrera the first time, when he fought De La Hoya, when he fought Margarito, and then they showed Mayweather and his early fights against Corrales and Jesus Chavez. And,
good stuff.
And I just thought to myself, like, they showed all of these great fights, and this is the last show that we're going to be left with from HBO boxing. I was like, wow, that's a damn shame as far as that, the way they went out. I got to see the Brook fight, and I agree with you guys. I don't know what the hell is up with him. I'm kind of starting to think that he's just going to start declining from here on out because he would have taken out Zerafa a few years ago when he was, like, at his peak. And for him to struggle with this guy who, honestly, I didn't think he belonged with him anyway in that ring, but he struggled with him. It's an indictment on how much Brook is slipping. And maybe, like he said, maybe he was just thinking about Amir Khan ducking him, this whole time, and he's upset that he's not going to get that huge payday from the fight against Khan. But honestly, I don't know how you make that fight because unless Brook starves himself, there's no way he makes 147 without issues.
No, he can't do that anymore.
The other thing about that is that it doesn't matter. I mean, you got one guy who wants to fight, and you got another guy who doesn't want to fight. That fight's not getting made. Amir Khan has no interest in fighting Kell Brook. Zero. He might have more interest after last night, but right now he has zero interest in fighting Kell Brook. And you know what? I don't blame him.
If Khan fights Crawford, Khan's going to come off of a loss. Maybe he takes a Brook fight as a recovery fight after getting beat by Crawford. But otherwise, I really don't see that fight happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way it happens, and I think that's what Amir Khan has said, that he's taking the Crawford fight because he's going to take the payday, and even if he loses, he still has Brook there as an opponent. But I honestly don't think that people would want to see that fight, because if he gets waxed by Crawford, there's no allure to watching those two guys get it on at this point.
And he's going to get waxed by Crawford.
Well, Nacho, none of us live in the UK, so I wish somebody from the UK would either call in or be in the chat and tell us why that's such a big deal over there. They've been talking about these two fighting for years. Now it's too late to make that fight now.
Yeah, I think so too, but who knows? I mean, something tells me that I won't be surprised if the fight eventually does happen. But yeah, I think Khan just, he wants the payday against Crawford, and he's pretty much said so that that's why he's taking that fight. Even though everybody keeps saying that a fight between him and Brook, he'd get double the money that he's getting against Crawford.
I don't see how. That's my point.
Yeah. Well,
Nacho, before we let you off here, what's your favorite HBO fight of all time? Only one.
Oh, wow. That's tough, because there's been so many good ones. Probably I'd have to say, I'd probably have to say Barrera Morales, the first one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or if not, I was just thinking about this because I actually watched this one too. The Prince Nassim against Kevin Kelly.
Oh,
that was a good one too.
Okay.
That was a good one.
So,
all right,
that
Nacho.
was an awesome fight too.
We appreciate it, man.
See you later.
All right. Yeah, that was a good one. Let's see here. 760. You're live.
Is that Brian?
I don't know.
Normally that's Brian. 760, you're on.
All right, going back to hold. Area code 937. 937, you're live.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
What's happening, Wood?
Go. Yeah,
Best callers come from Ohio.
Yeah, what's up, Wood?
Hey, I didn't really want no smoke tonight, man. I just was out on the move and was trying to listen to you guys, so I didn't have any major takes that you guys didn't already cover.
All right.
I didn't watch all of the HBO card, but
you didn't miss
I just thought it. I didn't hear you, Robbie.
I said you didn't miss anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was very telling. They had the girl in there, Hermans, was from Belgium, and they kept going to her corner, and they didn't even have an interpreter, to break down what was being said.
No.
And I just was like,
jeez,
you guys have just completely just dropped the ball on this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was just an embarrassment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though. You got one fight, the favorite HBO fight of all time.
It's probably pay-per-view, or maybe not, because I know I was young. But I think for me, the Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas fight. Just the emotions of it. At that point in time, Mike looked indestructible. I was a young kid and didn't know, about fighters and all the demons and stuff that Tyson was battling with and everything. So just, him kind of being a hot athlete at that moment, being on top of the world, and to just watch the fight and go through all the emotions of it. I was devastated sitting there watching Mike reach for the mouthpiece. And then I think another one that really was like emotionally stirring was, I think it was on HBO, but it was that Marlon Starling fight where he got knocked out after the bell.
Oh yeah.
The Michael Nunn. Wasn't that Michael Nunn? Was it? I don't think it. Well, you know what? Was it Michael Nunn versus Marlon Starling?
I don't think it was Nunn.
I don't think it was Nunn either. Now that who was that? Beeb, who was that?
Michael Nunn. What fight you talking about now?
When Marlon Starling got knocked out.
Yeah.
And he said after the fight, he was like, and they were interviewing him. He was like, I wasn't knocked out. I was never knocked down. He didn't remember any of it.
Was that Michael Nunn, or was that?
No, I don't believe it was.
Was that, who was that? Who did Marlon Starling get knocked out by?
Who's that guy? I don't remember. We have to go research that, man.
Yeah.
I remember that though. I remember that fight.
He was a relatively lesser known guy, or just not an all-time name. Was
Right.
Remember, but
Trying to remember.
I can't think of it.
Nope.
I can't remember that.
It was just it just kind of represents kind of the stuff we go through in following the sport, and some of the stuff that doesn't go our way, or because I liked Marlon at the time.
Yeah.
It was just like, thought it should have been some justice in that situation for him, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
And then similarly to Meldrick Taylor, after that fight, it was kind of downhill for Marlon from that point on. And so those were just like kind of two moving fights to watch on HBO for different reasons.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Wood.
Just to touch.
Yes. Go ahead.
Quickly to touch on the Lomo fight, I'm waiting on some food to get out of here. So I don't know why we gotta constantly compare all of these, the triangulation thing and the mutual opponents. I just think to sit there and tear apart Loma's performance last night in a dominant win, obviously he was not 100% and not doing a lot of the stuff that he normally does in a fight. And Pedraza was afraid or didn't want to really throw any shots with conviction for most of the night. Yeah, he touched up Loma's face and everything, but it was almost as if Loma was like, hey, I'm going to fight you straight up tonight. And, I'm looking down the road a little bit. I want to stay safe. And he still beat him, damn near with one hand. I mean, we only saw maybe one or two right hooks all night. He wasn't doing his little step around thing to the right and kind of speeding Pedraza up. So I don't even know how much you put into that. And then going into it, they said that Loma just had concerns about Pedraza not being a fan-friendly or not having a fan-friendly fighting style. So maybe he made it up in his mind that he was going to mix it up a little bit. But I still felt like he handled him very easily. And I just don't know why we got to constantly fall into this guy beat this guy that way at this age and at this weight and all that. That stuff is nerve-wracking, man.
It is.
No, I agree with you, Wood.
Boxing math, combat math, it never works. This guy beat this guy, so he should beat this guy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Incidentally, Marlon Starling, I'm being told by Nacho that Marlon Starling said that against Tomas Molinares. So there you go. All right. All right, Wood, we're going to get running, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.
All right. And let's go to the news. Notorious VC in the chat just said, what about Legendary Nights? I tell you what, that might have been the best boxing series that was ever produced. I mean, that was amazing.
Yep.
Legendary Night, all of it was so good.
And probably the best, what would be the best trilogy HBO ever had? Gotti Ward, or would you, Bo Holyfield?
Had to be Pacquiao Marquez, right?
Pacquiao Marquez, they did 4 fights.
Yeah.
And you had Morales and Barrera. They fought 3 times. I mean, they had some great trilogies and series and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the news here. Big news this week, man, and took me by surprise. Ring TV put out an article by Mike Coppinger. A World Boxing Super Series may be getting ready to cancel. There was an article on Ring TV this week that said fighters are not getting paid from the World Boxing Super Series and that the series may be canceled due to non-payment. There are no dates or venues set up for the next round. Apparently, some of the investors have not paid, and then some of the investors have paid more than their share. The article was kind of vague as to saying whose fault it was, but this is a serious allegation. Beeb, what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts when you read this, man?
I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. how do these guys have, a tournament and they have all these guys in there and they're fighting for free? How does that even work in today's boxing?
Well, in fairness, it wasn't their purse. It was like their bonus money. I'm hearing it's like their bonus money or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so it sounds like they got paid for their purse, but apparently there was some kind of bonus that went along in there that they have not been paid yet.
Because I couldn't figure that one out for the life of me. That didn't sound right to me at all.
Yeah. And I think the way it was worded, the article said something to the effect of you had to file, you had to like submit some kind of application to get paid on this whole thing, whether it was in, and again, the article, and you read the article just as well as I did, and it seemed like pretty vague. So I don't want to talk out of turn here, but it sounded like it was just bonuses, not necessarily your purse. Because I think you would have purses you get, your purse money you get after the fight. You know what I mean? It's fairly quickly after the fight. I know the UFC, you get it that night. You get the check that night. In boxing, it has to be the same thing, where it's, if not that, relatively close thereafter. But yeah, this came as a real big surprise to me.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, none of the fights for the next round have been set. No venues, no nothing.
So let's just get this straight, to be clear, because I was reading it. So they got their purses, but they didn't get their bonus money.
That's what I understood. That's when I read the article. That's what I understood it to be.
So their bonus money is dependent upon if they win fights or not, or how do they get the bonus money?
Again, the article was not real specific, but I will tell you that the one thing that kind of stood out in the article is that you had to apply. You had to fill out some kind of form, or you were not going to get paid. It was something like that. And they said that was very abnormal. Yeah, they said that was very abnormal.
So you had to fill out a form to get your bonus money? Is that what you're saying?
That's what it sounded like here. Let's see here.
That's ridiculous.
I'm pulling the article up now. It says, yeah, turmoil has been brewing behind the scenes among the board at the Camosa AG group. That's who's banking the tourney. Some investors have funded more than their share. Others have not met their due, per sources. Let's see here. Semifinals are scheduled for February and March. The matchups are set, but as of now, no sites have been secured for any of the 6 bouts. No date either. The second round of the tournament, of course, is in jeopardy of falling apart, per sources, but there's hope the board will solve the issues. Let's see here. DAZN had no comment on it, and I don't know why DAZN would comment on it. This is where it kind of got like crazy because, okay, here we go. Several fighters are still awaiting their victory bonuses, some of them 6 figures, to be paid out from their quarterfinal bouts, according to sources. Excuse me. The win bonuses are stipulated in the contract, an incentive for fighters to enter the tourney. The first round of the season 2 completed in October. So they're still waiting on win bonuses, not their actual purse. Still, it's still a big sum of money. The World Boxing Super Series requires participants to submit invoices for purses. An uncommon practice. The contract stipulates that fighters receive payment within 5 business days of invoice submission. In some cases, the promises have been met. Boxers typically are handed the paycheck the day of the fight, which is what we just talked about. All in all, there are 24 boxers who entered the season. 12 fighters now remain, blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes on to talk about the tournament itself. The World Boxing, let's see. If organizers can't solve the scene, blah, 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 then we may not see this. And this was written by Mike Coppinger of the Ring TV. So it was kind of like, it was kind of vague on details, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, I believe it, but I don't know. It was kind of a surprise, though. Kind of a surprise. So
yeah, I'm shocked about that.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it was a good series. I mean, Robert, what are your thoughts on this?
Note, do we have any update on Adonis Stevenson, Eric?
We do. He's still in a coma. Adonis still in a coma. But it's a medically induced coma, so they're waiting for swelling and stuff like that to go down. They expect him to make it out, but they don't know. They say that he's suffered like significant brain injury, so it could be like significant trauma. So not looking good. Not looking good.
Okay.
All right. Beeb.
It's time.
Train wreck of the week, Elena.
Chugga, 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 choo, choo.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Look at that. That was perfect. Perfect. Always perfect. All right. Train wreck of the week this week. Demetrius Andrade arrested.
Isn't that nuts?
Andrade told police officers that he carried the Glock 19 pistol because of his fame and wealth, according to the Providence Journal. However, the newspaper also reported that the police said Andrade did not have a permit to carry the weapon. This is why he was arrested, because he had no permit, which was discovered when the two officers found Andrade stopped in his Mercedes, blocking traffic while talking to a friend in another car at approximately 2:30 a.m. Fame and wealth. Fame and wealth were his, this is what he said, why he carries the Glock 19, because of his fame and his wealth. Let me ask you, would anybody recognize Andrade walking around?
No.
I mean, really? I mean, does anybody recognize that guy? Nobody recognizes that guy. So, yeah, fame and wealth drove him to this. I didn't even know you needed permit. Well, I guess it depends on like a concealed.
To carry a gun, yeah.
Well, you need a permit if it's like concealed carry. In Ohio, you don't need a permit for it. You can carry a gun, but if it's like a handgun or something like that, and you want to conceal carry it, then you need like a concealed carry license. But
right.
Yeah, there you go. Transgender boxer Pat Manuel, transgender boxer Pat Manuel, easy for me to say, wins by unanimous decision this weekend in a historic professional debut. Pat Manuel apparently was a woman who now transferred into, I guess, how do you say that? Is transferred, transitioned? Transitioned.
Yeah, transitioned into a man.
Into a man, and won his first bout. I guess he's promoted now by Golden Boy. Go figure that one out. I could make a 10-minute thing on that one, but I'll leave it alone because Robert got bashed on Twitter, and I'm not trying to be like him, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be up here apologizing next week. All right. Beeb did a story on this earlier on this week. The Wilder 10 count. A lot of people, including Deontay Wilder, are saying that Tyson Fury did not beat the 10 count in the 12th round of last week's fight. You guys saw it. He got hit. He looked like he was dead, and then he made it back up by the count of 9. Listen, it's real simple. If you know the rules, it's real simple. It's not a 10-second count. Bottom line, it's not a 10-second count. It's not. If it were, we'd be using a stopwatch by now. But we don't. It's a 10 count. The ref uses this to determine that the fighter is okay and ready to continue to fight. If you watch the fight, the ref picks up the count from the timekeeper, I think around 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He makes it to 9, and Fury is up.
I've seen it 3 times, and he picks it up at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He then checks Fury out to make sure he can continue, and the fight continued. Beeb, you did a video about this earlier, and definitely go to Beating the Odds with Beeb and check out that video. Go subscribe to it and all that other stuff. But Beeb, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, there's been so many people analyzing this count, and they even did use a stopwatch. And I guess Deontay Wilder got up not Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury got up at like 9.6 or something like that. So he did beat the count, even according to a stopwatch. But then Deontay Wilder put a video with the stopwatch with Tyson Fury going down, and then he started his stopwatch before even Tyson Fury hit the canvas. So I'm going to stick by what I said yesterday, or not yesterday, last show. They pick up the count from the timekeeper outside, and the timekeeper, I'm not sure exactly if the timekeeper is looking at a stopwatch or not, or looking at some type of clock. I don't know, but I do know the referee is picking up the count from outside the ring, and he started it at 4. So we could have 10 different people count to 10, We're all not going to get there at the same, the same time. You can have 10 clocks. Not all clocks, like one clock, it'll be a couple seconds fast. Another one will be a couple seconds slow. Like all clocks are different. How many times do you look at someone's watch and your watch may be a little faster than theirs, but it's still in the ballpark. And not only that, the fighter follows the count of the referee. So if the referee's going to 8, 9, like the fighter is following the referee's count. He's not following. He doesn't have a stopwatch on him, so he can't time it. So to just assume that Tyson Fury wasn't like following the count, because you could see Tyson Fury kind of like he woke up like at about, I want to say 4 or 5-ish. Tyson Fury woke up at about 5-ish when the ref reached 5. So he was awake at 5. And that's when he started getting up at 5. And it took him 4 more seconds to get up. So it's just sad listening to everything and listening to all these Deontay Wilder fans complain and grasping at straws because it was a legitimate count. Tyson Fury got up, and it is what it is. I just don't think there's any way you can argue against that.
I would agree.
And also remember this, folks. By all rights, 9 times out of 10, most referees wouldn't even have counted that. They would have just waved it off.
Yeah, and you know what? If he would have waved that off, nobody would have cared. I mean, honestly, nobody would have cared. Nobody would have thought that was a bad stoppage at all. But he didn't.
No.
And
well, let me ask you this though, not to interrupt.
Yeah.
Would Steve Smoger have waved that off without a count?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Oh, because
Steve Smoger, Arthur McCanty Jr. Go back and look at some of his fights.
Yeah.
Would he have waved it off?
Yeah.
I think that's, you could say 9 out of 10 referees would have waved it off, but I'm not so sure because there's a lot of referees out there that give fighters the benefit of the doubt. And many times I'd be screaming at my television set, and I'd be telling refs to wave fights off, and they don't wave them off, and they do give some guys counts, and Amir Khan, when he was knocked out by Alvarez, I think he was given a count too, and then like the referee counted to like 5, and then he just stopped, and then he waved it off because he saw Amir Khan wasn't moving. So I don't know if that argument's true. Like, would have a lot of referees waved it off? Yeah, but not 9 out of 10. I'm not sure. I'm saying maybe 50-50. I could be wrong though. I'm just saying because I can name referees that would give counts like Steve Smoger. He gives counts all the time, just about. He rarely just waves a fight off. Arthur McCanty Jr. I remember that guy when Cotto fought. What was that guy's name there? That Yuri Foreman. He gave that guy every benefit of the doubt to continue in that fight, and the guy was like limping across the ring. So
yeah. But you know what? I couldn't fault Jack Reese for waving that fight off though.
No, I thought it would have been waved off.
Yeah, I couldn't fault him at all.
I thought he would have waved it off.
I interviewed with Jack on Monday, and he said he promised both fighters when he went into the dressing room to give them instructions. He said, "Look, you both are champions. The heavyweight title's at stake. If anybody goes down, they're going to get a fair shot to finish the fight."
Yeah.
So he kept to his word.
Yeah.
Earthquake said, "Remember Jacob and Pirog?" Yeah, Danny Jacobs tried to get up. I remember that fight, and the referee actually put his hand on his chest and pushed him back down. I think Danny Jacobs definitely deserved the count there. He was trying to get up. He didn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bad move.
All right. So speaking about Fury and Wilder, the WBC approves an immediate rematch between Fury and Wilder. Everybody seems real excited about this, that the WBC has announced this and everything. Let me remind you, this means absolutely nothing.
It means zero.
It means zero. That's like me mandating a rematch for these two.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully a rematch takes place, but the WBC approving it means nothing. So, I mean, they've got no stroke here. I mean, they really don't.
No.
As we mentioned earlier on in the show, Amir Khan versus Terrence Crawford. They're in negotiations to fight. Khan's big fights always tend to fall through because Amir Khan's himself out of them. Incidentally, Khan is going to get killed if this fight goes forward. So maybe if falling through would be the best thing to happen to him. Khan, I don't, why does his Beeb, you're a British boxing guy here. You represent the Union Jack. Why does Amir Khan, his big fights, why do they always fall through?
Well, the only one that really did, go through was the one with Canelo.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I just think the guy waits around the like the whole Mayweather thing. Like Mayweather was never going to fight him. I don't know why. I was curious about that, but that would have been an interesting fight because I don't know if Mayweather would have knocked him out. It would have been interesting because of the speed, and Mayweather was probably slowing down a little bit. But I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, you could probably say that in this Kell Brook situation, this is definitely his fault, And then the Lamont Peterson situation, he was supposed to get a rematch with Lamont Peterson, and then Lamont Peterson tested positive or whatever for that. I mean, that's not really a big fight, but I don't know. I don't want to call the guy a diva, but he just seems to, like, in this situation with Kell Brook, Kell Brook is agreeing to everything, and he still doesn't want to do it. So I just can't really give you an answer to that question, Eric. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he doesn't want to fight him. Do you think? Go ahead.
Didn't he try to fight Pacquiao a few times, and that never went anywhere also?
Right. Yeah, I mean, he tried to fight Pacquiao. That fell through. The Mayweather fight fell through. They told him to keep quiet about it, and he, screamed it to the rafters, hey, I'm fighting Mayweather next, and, tell him to, and, I mean, you guys know how Mayweather does stuff. He does stuff on the sly. He does stuff, he wants to announce it when he wants to announce it. And I think he's earned that right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Amir Khan certainly hasn't earned that right, So just follow what he says, and maybe the fight goes forward, and, instead he gets on social media, says Mayweather's scared, blah, 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 tell him to sign the contract and all this other stuff. And, look, man, it just doesn't work like that.
Right.
This next story, I'm just overwhelmed with emotion. And Beeb, you know this. I am overwhelmed with emotion with this next story. The Hall of Fame class is chosen. The inductees have been announced, and they are led. First ballot Hall of Famer, Teddy Atlas, going in the Hall of Fame. Beeb, what about that? The GOAT, Teddy Atlas.
Now, you said he went in as an announcer, not as a trainer.
Broadcaster.
Okay,
he could have gone in, just to be clear, he could have gone in as multiple things. I think just the fact that they gave him broadcaster, I don't think he's not an egomaniac. He doesn't care how he goes in.
He's not an egomaniac. He's not an egomaniac.
Multiple things. They put him in as a broadcaster. Unbelievable.
And he does currently have the WBC light heavyweight champion of the world.
That's right. That's right.
He does.
Took apart, hey, put the game plan in motion. That's Teddy Atlas. He's a fireman, buddy. That's how he does things.
He's a fireman.
And in that fight, he was a piranha,
He's a fireman.
All right. So after Teddy Atlas, there's Teddy Atlas, and then, there's everybody else. The class of 2019 include Donald Curry, pretty good fighter. He was all right. He was all right back in his day. He did pretty good. Julian the Hawk Jackson. How about that? That guy was pretty good. James Buddy McGirt in the modern category. How about that? I don't. What are your thoughts on Buddy McGirt going in
as a fighter?
Yeah. Kind of lukewarm on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't move me. Doesn't move me.
But he went in as a fighter.
Yeah, he went in. I guess the old timer category was Tony DeMarco. He got in.
That's a tough one. I mean, Buddy McGirt was in. He was in there with some great fighters.
Let me ask you this: Buddy McGirt or Vinny Paz?
Oh, Buddy McGirt was a better fighter than Vinny Paz.
Did he fight better fights? More titles?
Well, he fought Pernell Whitaker. He fought Meldrick Taylor.
He lost both of them, though.
But he lost both those fights. So
I think he drew. Didn't he put a draw to Meldrick Taylor? I think that was a draw. I don't know.
No, I think he lost to Meldrick Taylor. Meldrick Taylor stopped him, actually.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, Vinny Paz, five-time world champ. I don't know. Seems a little fishy to me. I'm just saying.
I think he'll eventually get in, Eric.
I hope so. Don Elbaum, the referee, got in. Guy Utras, publicist, and publicist Lee Samuels. Guy Utras is a judge. Lee Samuels, a publicist. And there you go. There's your lineup.
Okay.
The GOAT, son. The GOAT. Floyd Mayweather's fight on New Year's Eve will not be televised in the U.S. live. How far is Mayweather's career in the tank that he's fighting in Japan? He's fighting a kickboxer under boxing rules. And, you know, I mean, dude, your fight's not even, nobody picked it up. Nobody, not even Showtime. Nobody picked it up.
This is going to be an exhibition, correct? It's not a...
It's an exhibition, yeah. It came out. They're going to use 8-ounce gloves, boxing gloves. There'll be boxing. He got real irritated with somebody. Some lady at the presser asked him, "How come you don't allow kicks or anything like that?" I mean, this is not Tension's. They said this is not Tension's best way to win or put on a good show. He's a kickboxer. Why don't you let him use some of this? Floyd says, please, sweetie, please, he's like, I'm the A side, and, and this and that, and just typical Floyd nonsense. Listen.
No, we don't have to hear afterwards that he's going to be 51-0. This is not a real sanctioned.
Well, there'll be no judges for it either. So he won't even give him the option because taking place in Japan, if there's judges, trust me, he's not coming out of there unscathed. So they're going to take it out of there. And I don't know, man. Just awful. Why doesn't he work on getting his fighters on live TV?
Yeah, like Badu Jack needs a light heavyweight fight. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, he's fighting Marcus Brown, isn't he? I think he's fighting Marcus Brown at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's taken him long enough. It's taken, where's Tank Davis at? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't get it, man. All right. Final caller here. We're going to go to Robbie's old stomping ground, Stockton, California. Let me ask you guys real quick, because we know everybody listens to the show. Beeb, is this Nick or Nate Diaz from Stockton?
Nick.
I believe it's Paul, actually.
Okay. All right, Robbie's going to say Paul. Somebody named Paul from Stockton.
Please, Robbie.
I'm thinking, right? I mean, come on. Do you know who we are, Robert? I'm thinking it's going to be Nate. You think it's going to be Nick?
I'm saying Nick.
Because we had Stockton call before. We thought it was one of these guys. Apparently, lines got crossed, and it was Paul. So we're gonna see here. Here's the countdown. Here we go. 209. Nate Diaz, how are you?
Sounded just like him too.
He did, didn't he?
That was a good impression. Very good.
Best call ever.
that was nice, man.
Yeah.
That was nice.
How's it going, fellas?
Good, man. Good.
What's up, brother?
Hey, Robbie. Hey, Eric. Hey, Beeb.
How you doing, man?
First thing I wanted to talk about was the WBSS and how disappointing this all is. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, that was really, I thought, a great vehicle to
90
help
seconds.
boxing. But I kind of wonder what the real deal behind it was, because if you look at kind of like the money behind it and the people involved, and then the way it was run is real weird. You guys were talking about the bonuses for the fighters, right?
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I forget what fight it was. I don't know if it was the final with Usyk, and I forget who he fought for the cruiserweight title, or if it was one of the other ones. But I was trying to find out,
60 seconds.
hey, where are you going to be on out here in the States, And because this is before the DAZN had really launched their app here. So I went on Twitter and I was like tweeting at the World Boxing Super Series. I was tweeting at the Sauerlands. I was just saying, hey, when's the fight going to be on, And then I figured out I'll go to their website. So I go to their website, and I should have checked before I went on here. But I went onto their website, and they had like 3 or 4 announced dates, at least like on Boxing Scene.
they were supposedly coming up, but when I went to their website under the schedule, the whole page was blank. It's like it was like 6 months ago, I'm guessing, I guess. It
Wow.
was completely blank. There was nothing on there. And I
10
like 3
seconds.
or 4 or 5 days straight on Twitter, I just kept going, hey guys, what's up with your webpage? Why is this blank? Like, what's going on? Like, where are the fights at? You know, I'd like to watch. You know, I'm very interested in this. No response, no updates, no information. And then before you said what you guys said tonight, I just heard, you know, about the cancellation of possibly of the tournament. And what I had heard was the events that they recently put on here in the States were pretty much just empty, you know. But, you know, that's what I'm thinking is, you know, I've come into boxing like not, I don't know if I would call myself a hardcore, but, you know, like more seriously over the last like 4 or 5 years. And so coming into boxing from an outsider's perspective, I look at something like the WBSS. I don't know what they were expecting. There was no promotion, right? Like before it got announced, it just kind of popped up out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And then they had no U.S. network TV deals at all.
None.
Like, how did that happen? ESPN has a deal right now. Fox has a deal right now. How did they not arrange that? How was it possible to not be able? You could remember for like up until earlier this year, even if you wanted to watch the fights, you guys remember last year, you couldn't. They literally say like, oh yeah, this fight you can't watch it anywhere in the United States, and then someone would laugh and be like, isn't that funny? I don't think it's too funny. I think that's a sign of some weird, you know, what's really wrong with boxing because you have something. Go ahead, Robbie.
That's why I'm going to sound like a dinosaur here, but that's why going to all these apps such as DAZN and ESPN Plus, I don't think is a good idea because you're going to lose the casual boxing fan. Unless you're a hardcore boxing fan, how many people are going to subscribe to apps to either watch on their TV or their phone? I mean,
yeah.
I know Canelo's getting $365 million for 11 fights, and you know.
Check this out. Hey, check this out. But even that deal is not what it sounds like. It's an 18-month guaranteed deal. So only as many fights as he can get in between for the 18 months. That's not a 365 like the way it was set out to be. And Robbie, look at what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have ESPN Plus. But look at what the deals were with. Where did Lomachenko fight last night?
Hey, he fought on ESPN because Top Rank has a deal with ESPN.
But that's what I'm saying. He fought on what? He fought on ESPN. Fox just signed a deal. The dinosaurs were still buying. The WBSS, which was going to use predominantly European fighters, which is what it turned out to be. Don't you think it would have been a great way to get your fighters exposure to get a deal with one of those two? Because obviously they were out there looking for it. You see what I'm saying? How do you mess that up so badly that we can't even watch the fights in the U.S.?
Well, see, I support you, but I don't know how you're going to get a TV network to get involved because the new trend in boxing now is to run to DAZN and go to ESPN Plus.
But it's not. Well, listen to what we just said. Fox and ESPN both just signed network deals with the PBC and with Top Rank.
Yeah.
Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good thing about the DAZN from guys like me and Eric, because we're hardcores, is we get to see fights that we normally wouldn't want to see. That's good for us. But at the end of the day, Eric's got a family. Is he going to be able to watch fights at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, or is he going to spend time with his family at that time? And then at night at 9 or 10 o'clock, when all the activities with the family are done, he has a better chance of watching those fights. So the problem is a lot of people aren't going to want to watch. I'm a loser, so I watch them. But Eric got a family and stuff. He's got a lot going on. People that have a lot going on, they're not going to want to watch a fight at 2 in the afternoon, number one. Number two, it doesn't seem like a lot of people a lot of Americans have downloaded this app. So from an exposure standpoint for the fighter, it doesn't look like it's a good thing. Okay, and number two, they've put on some good fights, but at the end of the day, they're going to run out of opponents quick if they can't cross the street over and get some of those PBC guys. So it doesn't, on the surface, yeah, there's a lot of fights, but are they the fights that people want? And are they going to be able to put them on consistently enough? And are people going to buy the app? And is the time slot really a good slot? Because if I'm a fighter, I'd rather be on during prime time, not 2 in the afternoon.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
Exactly, but not even. Hey, but the Beeb, not even just prime time, right? I mean, I'm not arguing against the zone or other avenues, because look at what I'm saying. ESPN is not saying it's all or nothing. ESPN hasn't said, "Hey, we're not putting stuff on cable anymore. It's all going on ESPN Plus." What are they doing? They're
diversifying
on the cable channel while also providing fights on the app.
Diversifying, yeah, like Showtime is too.
What's that?
I said they're diversifying, just like Showtime is too. Showtime's using all different avenues to broadcast these fights too. I agree with you 100. My man, you're making outstanding points tonight.
But what I'm saying is the zone's not going to be successful unless they find a way to do it that method. Because
you're right.
Boxing is not big in the States right now. So boxing's facing two things right now. It's figuring out the best vehicle while at the same time trying to build itself back up. But as we all know, this is what I think we need to focus on. The talent is there. So right now, yes, everyone is like excited for apps. Stand back and don't buy into the hype and take a look at it. The best avenues are still what? The best avenues are still going to be ESPN and the networks. See what I'm saying? Like, they're still getting the most amount of eyeballs on the fighters through their
and
by the way, Fox and ESPN have just started really to ramp up their coverage of boxing. I mean, ESPN really started last year, the year before, and the difference now with ESPN, why I'm excited is because unlike in the Friday night fight era, they're putting guys like Lomachenko and Bud on ESPN. They're not putting Bundridge or something like that.
For example, this Friday's fight with Ramirez and Hart, the first one was on ESPN, and it was a damn good fight. Why is the second one only on the app? I don't get it.
Well, and here's another thing too. People have been saying this, but here's something that I don't believe that's being said right now. Pay-per-view is not dead. Really isn't. If those numbers are accurate and they do 325,000 pay-per-view buys or 350,000 pay-per-view buys, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, that's a success, man. That's a huge success because no one, Tyson Fury's not even from here. This is Deontay Wilder's first pay-per-view, and that's right in line with everyone else's first pay-per-view. Like Floyd Mayweather's first pay-per-view was 340,000, and that was when there was no pirating or nothing, no real streams out there. How many people illegally streamed this fight and it still did 325,000 at the bare minimum pay-per-view buys, and the rematch is going to do substantially more with all the hypes behind it. So not even pay-per-view as an outlet is dead, like people are saying. Pay-per-view is not dead. If you give people the right fight, they will buy it.
Yes, they spent $300,000, spent $75 on a guy they've never heard of just because of word of mouth. But check it out, dude. I don't think this is actually what I want to talk about next, real quick, if you guys don't mind. I don't think anyone understands how big of a deal that fight was, because again, you know how it is and everything. It's like everyone's kind of like looking at things now, but the repercussions from that fight have yet to reveal themselves. Because let's face it, I think it's been crazy that again, as a person that's come into boxing, I feel like as a more of a like other sports fan, I come into this and I go, holy shit, who the hell is this Deontay Wilder guy? How the hell can boxing not sell a guy who is 40-0 with 39 knockouts? It was funny because I did a test. I had my friend over. I was like, hey, this guy's going to fight in a couple weeks. He's like, who is he? I go, his name's Deontay Wilder. He goes, I go, let me show you something real quick. What do you think? What do you think I showed him?
12th round.
I don't know.
The fucking the last minute of the Severn 2 fight, man. He was sitting there with his jaw dropped and hit the floor. He couldn't believe what the hell he was watching. It looks like it's straight out of a movie. You see what I'm saying? No one has seen this. No one has seen what Deontay Wilder can do in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Once the word gets out, oh my goodness, people are dying for that kind of stuff because there's no one in UFC right now that's really like a big name. But they're, you know, right now we're in the era where, let's face it, it hasn't fully revealed itself, but we're in the fight era. It's not UFC versus boxing anymore. We've crossed over, not in terms of like the way the fights are organized, but I'm saying in terms of the fan bases. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is looking for the giant knockout guy. It's always been like that, right? The thing is what everyone knows and what everyone's been talking about, but again, they're not putting two and two together. What is everyone saying? No one knows who Deontay Wilder is. No one knows who Deontay Wilder is. I agree. Because I'm telling you, there's no way that anyone could see the highlights who's into fighting from the Severn 2 fight where he knocks him out with knocks him down 3 straight times in like 3 different manners. You know what I'm saying? With like a shotgun blast to the fucking head. There's no way that if people saw that, they wouldn't be like, holy shit, who's this guy? You see what I'm saying? That's the point. No one knows that this guy even exists, but now they do. Now this thing's everywhere. You see what I'm saying? And now people are going to go online. They're going to be like, oh my God, who the hell is this guy? And I think, I'll be honest. I'll finish up with this. I'm really excited as well because it really seems like Wilder was legit and I thought, that's what I like about these two guys is they both seem to mean what they say. I don't think it's as important as putting on good fights, but it definitely helps, want to put support behind these guys. But it's also exciting because you can tell these dudes want to fight. You know what I'm saying? They mean what they say. And I really think that the landscape has changed for the heavyweights. And I think that everyone, including AJ, is going to be in a position where they can no longer say no to fight. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think that Eddie's going to get away with rolling out AJ versus White 2 and then follow that up with AJ Chisora, followed up by AJ versus some other matchroom stiff. I don't think they're going to be able to keep, collecting whatever they've been collecting for a couple years now, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, AJ's eventually going to have to fight Wilder or Fury, if not both of them eventually.
Both of them. But see, I think once they fight, Robbie, I think it'll open everything up. You know what I'm saying? But I wonder if Matchroom's just gonna say, you know what, we'll just close ranks. We won't collect all that money. We'd rather just stay in control. You see what I'm saying? Like, because they seem like they might do that,
Yeah. Good call, man. Good call.
All right.
Well, hey, thanks, fellas. I really love the show. So I really.
Hey, thanks for the call, brother.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the appreciation.
Incidentally, you're talking about AJ. I read that they're going to try to make the Usyk fight for next year. Him and Alexander Usyk.
Why are they saying that they're negotiating with Wilder? Like, why are they even saying that they're negotiating with Wilder? Like,
no idea.
What's the sense of even like Wilder's definitely going to fight Fury next. Am I wrong there, or does like will it not? Will that fight not happen next? Like,
I know Fury had came out and said he wants to fight Joshua as well. If that fight doesn't happen, I mean, because I think that's a bigger money fight for Fury, honestly. Would be to fight Anthony Joshua.
Do you think Fury would go and fight Joshua instead of Wilder?
In the UK, 90,000 would show up in Wembley just like that for those two alone.
If you're Fury, do you fight Wilder next, or do you fight Joshua next?
If I'm Fury, I fight Wilder next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger. I think that's, I guess it depends on the money. I mean, money wise, I think that the other one is better for him. I think AJ is a bigger money fight for him, but I think that I think Wilder's a better fight for him.
To leave home, it'd be right there in the UK.
Yeah,
but could the rematch?
I'm not confident that AJ would take him next. I'm not confident that AJ would take him next. So
could the rematch with Wilder and Fury do 1 million based off of what happened and everything, and based off the exposure?
No, you're looking at a jump of about 600, 700,000. No.
Yeah, because they only did what, 300,000 for this? Boy,
325. They're going north of 325. So let's say 325 to 400. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say in there. All right. No, you'd have to gain 600 something.
That's a lot, isn't it, Eric?
That's a lot. That's all.
What do you think the rematch does? 500,000?
Could go 500. I would give it 500. I wouldn't be surprised. But going up past that, I'd be shocked. I mean, you're looking at, when you're looking at that one rating, that 1 million rate, that's a lot.
You know what kills it? You know what really kills pay-per-view right now is the streaming. It's the streaming.
Yeah.
The illegal streaming kills it.
They said, I mean, they had like, what did they say, 10 million or something stupid. It was a crazy number
of streaming
of illegal
streaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it too. Like
I don't know how they track it.
Some of the streams out there are like really good too.
Yeah. But you got to find them. You're much better off buying the fight because to go find
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst thing too is the worst thing I hate was when you're watching a stream and something big is happening and the fucking thing freezes on you. Oh, is that so frustrating?
It's the worst. So, all right, guys, that'll do it. Go ahead.
And nothing freezes on your TV, so it's better to buy it.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917. Is that correct, Robert?
No, 773-572-7781.
And leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1 and find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. On Twitter, I'm at Ringside73, and we will see you next week.